Hey everybody, it's Allison, the Holistic Homesteader. I'm headed outside to set up for butchering our meat chickens. So today is the day. The chicks are about 7.5 weeks old. They are not chicks anymore. They are ready to head to our freezer. So the first step, for me anyway, is making sure I have room. This is our outside, this is our garage fridge. This is real life, people. This is what a garage fridge looks like. Definitely needs cleaned up. I'm gonna clean all that up, wipe all this up. And then this is the area where we will put the processed chicken. So that is after we cut the legs and breasts off the chicken. I'm gonna have cookie sheets in here covered with some, probably just some aluminum foil or something, just to make it, or parchment paper, just to make cleanup a little bit easier for me. This is where we're going to put all of the chicken, because once the chickens are dead and they're cut up and stuff, you want to let the meat rest and chill at a slower rate than just killing them and putting them directly in the freezer. So that's where the chickens are going to go once they've been all cut up. I will show you how exactly I prep for that as I get to that step. All right, so I'm going to show you kind of the order of what happens and how it happens. So the first thing that happens is that we grab one of the white meat chicks, and then we take it over here, this cone, and this is where the arteries in their neck are nicked with the machete. And we let them bleed out. We let them hang there. Their heads come down through, and we let them hang there. They bleed out. The process is over in just a couple seconds. They don't suffer. They don't know it's coming. Just a few seconds prior, they are still fat and happy up in their pen. So as soon as they are totally bled out, then they are going to come down. So they come down here to the scalder. This is going to be hooked up to a little propane tank like you would use for your grill. And this is going to get filled with water. It's going to get rinsed out first, washed out first, and then filled with water. We are going to facilitate this by heating up water in there on the stove. They go from up there, that tree, to the cone. That's where their day ends. They come down here to the scalder. The scalder is going to be really, really, really hot water, and you dunk them in just for you grab them by their feet and you just dunk them down in. That loosens all of their feathers. So once you dunk them for a few seconds, you don't want it to go any more than probably 8 or 10 seconds, because then it starts to cook the meat. Then they're going to come over here and ignore all the junk. They are going to come over here to the plucker. So this is the thing that will remove all the feathers. We used to pluck them by hand, but we spent some money and we invested in this, and we've used it several times. Our brother-in-law has used it several times. Our chiropractor has used it at this point. This is well worth its money, especially if you have a lot of people who can benefit from this. So how this works is because these chickens are so big, we will probably put only 2 chickens down in at a time, and you have to have running water. So this plucker has to have electricity. I have that already hooked up with an extension cord, and then you have to have water. Now, you spray them with water, you keep spraying them with water, and over on the side is a button, and you just kind of pulsate the chickens through. You just let them tumble around in there like a washing machine. All of the feathers get rinsed to the bottom around that ring, and then they come out the front side of the plucker here. This container is in hopes of trying to catch a lot of the feathers. I realize it's not going to catch them all. That's okay, as long as it catches most. So that's the plucker. Once they are plucked, then normally we would gut them. If we were keeping the chickens whole, we would gut them, but this time we're going to cut all of our chickens apart. So they're gonna come over to this table. They're in the garage still and they're super heavy, so I'm not going to show you those right at the moment, but we have 2 huge stainless steel plates that we sit on top of this. We never cut directly on this plastic table. We use those stainless steel, it's like a stainless steel countertop essentially, and that's what we use to cut the chickens apart on. Now, because we are not gutting them, we are going to very carefully cut the breasts and the tender meat out, and then we will remove the legs and thighs. And then that's essentially it. From there, you'll see my little cart in there. If it'll focus, there we go. My little cart in there has the cookie sheets and stuff like that we're gonna put the breast meat and the legs and thighs on. And I also pulled that clear container out of the fridge. I washed it up because I thought that'd be a good way to store the legs and thighs potentially. So once everything is cut off of the actual chicken here, the chicken carcass is going to drop down onto the ground into a big bucket, which I still have to get out yet. And all of the meat itself that we're going to keep is just going to go right in there into that fridge, into our garage fridge. So as you can see, it's a pretty seamless process of they go from the coop to the cone to the scalder to the plucker. I don't know what Bear is doing in there. Bear, what are you doing? What are you doing in there? And then they come over here. They get cut up. Then they simply go into the containers and then into the fridge, and we will let them cool overnight. Tomorrow, the girls and I, we will package everything up in packs of breasts and then packs of legs and thighs. So really, we have, at this point, we have 19 birds, and that process today, this setup here, getting everything prepped, took me maybe about half an hour, and so we'll have about 2 hours probably in the whole process of culling all 19 chickens and getting them butchered. And then tomorrow I might have an hour in packaging, so about 3 hours probably to process 19 birds. So this is how we set up our table. We have these big stainless steel plates I was talking about. We have our knives. We have a really good set of knives and a knife sharpener. So we're going to sharpen our knives first. Probably just sharpen 2 knives, one for Brian and one for myself. And then we have some paper towels. We always wear gloves. And then we have a tray for the breasts. And then we have this that I took directly out of the fridge. I cleaned it up. And then we're going to put the legs and thighs probably in here. And then I have a few spare aluminum foil covered cookie sheets back there, just in case we need more than what we have here. So we are ready to get started. Our water is getting hot. As soon as that's ready, we are ready to go. We also have this bucket here to put carcasses and anything nasty down in there. So if you remember, we started off with 30 birds, 30 meat birds, and we're down to 19. Now, how did that happen? Well, this is one of the things I wanted to chat about. So we're always prepared to lose chicks. It happens. Every time I have gotten birds, whether they are laying chicks or meat chicks or a combination of both, I almost always lose some chicks. That happens. This time around, I lost 6. Which was a very high number. It's also the number that my sister-in-law lost. We got our chicks on the same, like exactly the same time. So, yeah, with that being said, we've also lost 5 full-grown birds. And not including today, the 22nd of April, but the previous 5 days, we have lost a full-grown bird every single day. Just the meat chicks. And after, you hear in the news about the avian flu and those kinds of things, I don't think that's what I'm dealing with here. I think that I was wrong on how long it was going to take to get these to full size, and I think these birds have died of heart failure. I feel like they get too big too fast, and I feel like they went into some organ failure and they end up dying because none of my other chickens are acting weird. They don't have any symptoms. They're not dying. I have 11 other chickens. They are all perfectly fine. So with that being said, I'm not concerned about eating the meat, and even after researching on the CDC website, if these birds did end up having the avian flu, it's okay to eat the meat. You just want to make sure everything is cooked 100% through, which we do anyway. So yeah, I don't think that's what it is. I'm like 99.9% that's not what it is. But I'm just trying to be upfront and real with you guys with what has happened this time around. I also read that having such a cold and wet spring might have also done damage to these chicks. And that's probably why we lost more when they were teeny tiny. So with all that being said, I should add in too, my sister-in-law, she got all female meat chicks. I got all male meat chicks. Her chicks are not ready yet, and they have not been dying as adults. So that's another reason why I feel like my meat chicks are just too old. We should have called them all last weekend. We were going off the recommendation of them needing to be 8 to 12 weeks old before we called them. They're 7.5 weeks right now. They should have gone probably at 6.5 weeks. So if you raise chickens, these are just hopefully helpful tips, you know, to benefit you down the road. I do have another order of male meat, Cornish cross meat chicks coming at the end of July. We're going to make sure that we are butchering at about 6 weeks, and hopefully between the weather being a lot nicer here in Pennsylvania and the fact that we know now to call them sooner, hopefully we won't lose any chickens that time around. But that's just how it goes sometimes, right? All right, so that's gonna wrap up this video, I think, on the setup